I saw this story yesterday, and I said to Fritzy, would you reach out to USC? I'd love to have Jake Olson back on, the USC long snapper. He lost his sight at the age of 12, but he was there at the USC Pro Day, and he was bench pressing the 225 that they always have you bench. He did 17 reps, and then I realized he was raising money to fight this rare cancer that took his eyesight. Jake, good to have you back on. How did it feel yesterday?
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me again. Man, it felt awesome. It felt awesome. You know, it's amazing how your expectations change. Like I said, man, a few years ago, if you said I would have got 17 reps at 225, I would have been very happy. But I was hoping to get in the 20s, so it was sweet. But you know, it's all right. Give me a few more months, I guess.
Okay, explain how you're raising money for this disease that took your eyesight.
So basically, my freshman year, I won the Uplifting Athletes Awards, part of the Maxwell Football Club, and they always do a fundraiser through Pledge It with their recipients every year who are graduating and doing the bench press for either the combine or the pro days. And they Uplifting Athletes supports rare diseases, so they were like, would you be willing to do a fundraiser? And I said yes, but is there any way we can really specify it to retinoblastoma? Just because obviously I wanted to help go towards the cause as much as I could. And so they, under the kind of the bylaws, they couldn't get that specific with it. So I kind of searched for something else I could do with it that was more specific. And sure enough, I talked to some researchers that were around, when I was going through it all. And at the time, 10 years ago, they were developing this device that honestly, if it was ready 10 years ago, probably would have saved my sight.
Oh boy.
So unfortunately, it wasn't ready then, but it is ready now. Actually, last year they treated kind of experimentally with it 2 kids up in Toronto, 2 3-year-olds that were in my position. One eye left, exhausted all the treatment options. They tried this thing, and the kids are totally cured. So this new device, it's like a low chemo plaque, non-invasive chemo that just directly goes to the tumors in the eye. Kind of sits right outside on the eye there. And basically, if it becomes a standard for retinoblastoma to treat it, man, I mean, the reality is no kid really would ever have to lose their eyesight to the cancer again, which would just be absolutely amazing.
How can people get involved in this? Is there a website that they can go and donate?
Yeah, so my campaign is open till April 1st. So, you can make a pledge per rep, and, I did 17, so you could do that way. You could just make a flat donation, but it's the website's just Pledge It, like you're pledging something, pledgeit.org/Jake.
Oh,
and
good.
It's on my social media as well.
Do you remember your last sight, like what you saw before you went under?
Yeah. I mean, it was, one of the hardest moments was when I was obviously that day in the hospital, and all the nurses and doctors obviously knew me at that point from being in and out of the hospital for 12 years. And so, we were all crying just because, again, I mean, it was real personal for everyone. I remember, like, the nurse, she had the IV in me or whatever, and I remember she telling me basically, just tell me when you're ready, and I'll give you the propofol, to put you out. But, at that moment, it's like, it was the hardest thing because I'm like, what am I supposed to say? I'm ready, It wasn't like necessarily, it's like, okay, I know I'm good.
And who's ready at age 12 for something like that, let alone any age?
Yeah. No, I mean, it was tough, and I remember seeing my parents' faces and just the anguish in their faces, and it was a sad moment. But the crazy thing is, I mean, I do remember waking up from that surgery, and I'm sure, I mean, I was definitely had some drugs in my system, but I do remember just kind of being a burden off my shoulder and back, in the sense that, I really wasn't leading up to the surgery was so much of this anxiety of me losing my sight and never being able to see again, that once that kind of reality set in right after I woke up, it was kind of like, okay, this is my new reality. I'm gonna have to live with it. So, let's start, again, not to be cliche, but fighting on, and keep moving forward, and not, forfeiting my life to my circumstances.
Yeah, I just can't imagine. You're 12, you're going to the hospital, you know that they're going to put you under, you're going to wake up and you're not going to be able to see, and you're looking at your parents. But from your parents' perspective, this is the last time you see them. I mean, I can't process how that had to be so difficult for them. Like you would kind of, all right, I understand it. This is what it is. There'll be a relief on the other end. But mom and dad, I just can't imagine how much pain they must have felt.
To be honest, Dan, I can't either, and I really don't want to. I mean, that's just like another side of it. And I obviously don't have children, but I mean, it's just like for anyone who does, man, that's another side to it. That, to be honest, they're very strong individuals, and I try to do things in my life that makes them proud, and kind of gives them another life with me that besides the first 12 years that they can be proud and happy with. And I mean, obviously they're proud and happy with me throughout all those years, but I'm just saying, I definitely don't want to imagine it like you're saying.
Yeah. Do you play jokes on people with your site?
Of course, man. It's pretty funny. We always had fun out there, and the big conspiracy is actually, Dan, is that I'm not blind. That's the conspiracy that goes around the football team and some other people I know. Every time I do something on social media, there's always people that comment as well. So believe what you want, Dan. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm thinking this whole thing just for the publicity. It should be on the Dan Patrick Show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have you on if you had your site and you were a long snapper, Jake. Just letting you know.
Yeah. Hey, look, I understand that.
Yeah. What are you doing after graduation?
I'm going to obviously continue to speak. I signed with UTA here in LA, so, going to be doing some cool things. And I know we maybe have a campaign with Head and Shoulders coming up. That's going to be pretty cool, revolving the draft. And I started a company actually with my manager called Engage. It's at letsengage.com. It's just an online kind of digital booking platform that we're really excited about. It's kind of picking up some steam. And then just getting back to playing competitive golf. I want to see how far I can take. Golf cart was my first sport, especially after going blind. That was something I really wanted to make sure I could become the best golfer I know I can. And
have you had a hole in one?
I've never had a hole in one, and it really upsets me. But it's coming. It's coming. I will not die without having a hole in one. That's
but you know what? Knowing your friends, they would probably lie to you and say you had one.
It's one of those things too that like my dad always worries about, because if he has a hole in one, like the etiquette's, you don't approach the green. The other person has to go up and, verify it. So he's like, I'm going to have to like call out to you to, lead you to the stick without me going up there just, to verify, because I'm probably the worst eyewitness out there, Dan,
Well, good luck, Jake. It's great to hear about what you're doing and hear from you again. And I know you'll be successful because you already are. So thanks again for joining us.
All right. Thank you, guys.
That's Jake Olson, the blind long snapper from USC. ESPN did a nice little feature on him earlier this year. We were able to have him on after he got into the game last year. So graduating in May. So pretty good stuff. Dan Patrick Show brought to you by Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. The all-new GT four-door coupe, because life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. And if you missed any of the interviews on this program, the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave, go to the Dan Patrick Show app, where you can watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG. Driving performance. Yeah, it's a good story there. I just... when you're a parent, then these stories affect you differently. That if your child, and you're taking your child, he's 12, and you're taking him to the hospital, and when he leaves the hospital, he probably will never see again. I just can't imagine what the parents, because you're helpless. Like Jake has to get in his head, I got to fight now. Now the fight begins, and, I don't want your sympathy. I got to do this. I got to survive. I got to live my life. But as parents, you're just watching. And there's so many times that you go in when your child is in surgery, sick, and you can't do anything about it. And if you've ever been in there and those moments when all of a sudden there's something serious with your child, they've broken a leg or an arm. I've gone through those visits. And you can't do anything about it. You could just be there. And then you realize if you've instilled that toughness, as Jake, his parents did a wonderful job. You can tell that. But just to be there knowing that your child, when he closes his eyes, when they put him under, and he wakes up, he may open his eyes, but he's not seeing you ever again. And then you start to look at all the things that will happen in your life. You know, when he gets married, when you have your first child, and for him to be able to feel the child, hold the child, but not see the child. And those are all the things that went through my mind when I first heard about Jake. And it's not just Jake, but his story was brought to our attention. There's so many other people who don't have the means, didn't get to go to USC, didn't get to get on national TV. You know, but he wants to give back, raising awareness for this disease that took his eyesight. So good for him.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.